Yo, what's going on, everyone? The Stadium College Football Power Hour rolling right along with rivals down south. I am T-Bob Abear. He is SEC Mike, host of that SEC podcast, the highest rated podcast on Apple and Spotify. I'm just an old washed up LSU player from back in the day. But here on this show every day, we have a lot of fun. We talk SEC. Mike, what's going on, man? Another great weekend of football right around the corner. So close I can almost taste it.
Right, and these are the best weekends of the entire year, T-Bob, because it's all SEC versus all SEC.
Yes.
Get rid of those cupcakes. It's conference time, baby.
Get rid of the cupcakes. I think we'll get in the future, but let's dive into one of my favorite games. And one of the interesting, Mike, about all SEC and all SEC, and you appreciate this, and a lot of listeners do as well, which, by the way, youtube.com/watch stadium if you want to get involved. We'll get to your comments throughout the show. Is that like a lot of these games take on a life of their own, and you probably don't even realize outside looking in just how much that game means to the fan bases involved. I think a prime example of this is Auburn LSU. Now, sure, the casual football fan may watch Auburn LSU just because they enjoy football, but they may not realize just the legendary moments or how deep a series like this goes. And former Auburn linebacker Takeo Spikes, who's now a member of the SC Network, is calling for Auburn to pull off the upset. Now, of course, the Plainsmen had Georgia on the ropes in Jordan-Hare. And, you know, although the Auburn offense hasn't been great this year, in fact, they leave quite a bit to be desired, the LSU defense is awful. Like, it doesn't matter. The LSU, just full stop, the LSU defense is awful. Mike, what do you think? I want us to try to craft a pathway. How do you feel Auburn could potentially pull off an upset Saturday in Death Valley?
Well, Hugh Freeze, he's a sneaky man. And we saw them, what they were able to scheme up against Georgia's defense, had us all kind of questioning how elite Georgia really is. Auburn's had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, and they've been rotating quarterbacks in and out. Robbie Ashford, Peyton Thorne. I think we see a heavy dose of Robbie Ashford. It's been the other way, but after 2 weeks to prepare, Hugh Freeze kind of taking more of the play calling duties on the Plains. I think LSU's defense, which has already been a trade wreck, I think they could have their hands full. And you obviously got to shorten the game too, because you want to limit the possessions that Jayden Daniels has for LSU's offense.
Yeah, I mean, Hugh Freeze, like everybody else, saying, I don't think you can stop Jayden Daniels. There's just too many weapons around him. He's just too good. And we'll talk more about Jayden and his Heisman chances in a minute. Here's what I think the path looks like. So I was diving into some Auburn film, and in my opinion, this is clearly the best offensive line and defensive line that LSU has played since Florida State, right? I think that Auburn is far better in the trenches than is Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Mizzou. And so perhaps this LSU offensive line, which I think should be one of the key candidates for the Joe Moorhead Award. Like, I think it's the best LSU line in a decade. Maybe they aren't as dominant as they've looked the last few weeks, and maybe Auburn gives them trouble. I also think that while Auburn's offense is the most threatening, they play hard. Like, to your point, they are fully bought in to this pseudo triple option attack that Hugh Freeze has kind of cobbled together from spare parts to try to make work this week. Like, their wide receivers, they might not threaten you through the air, but you know what they do? They work their ass off blocking there on the edge, right? And so, to your point, perhaps they run the ball effectively against this bad defense. They control the clock, the flow of the game. You keep Jayden off the field. And then, Mike, this is something that you'll appreciate, and this is what I was kind of referencing at the beginning, is that college football SEC magic. Auburn hung with Georgia and Jordan-Hare. In fact, had a lead most game. Why? Because that's the South oldest rivalry. There's just some times where these games just always end up close, no matter what the objective facts of the matter say going in. And this is an LSU Auburn series that has legendary moments. The earthquake game, the interception game, the barn burner, the cigar game, Flynn to Bird. Like, it doesn't matter who's good or who bad. It always delivers. So I think this is a close one, but I do think the Death Valley element puts LSU over the top in the end.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, T-Bob, but it feels wrong that this is not the first SEC game for both of these, because it typically seems like Auburn and LSU, it's usually their first conference game. It's a physical game. It's defensive game. And if you want to talk defense and physicality, I think Auburn's got a massive edge on LSU. We're all impressed with LSU's offense, but it's not because they're physical by any means. So there are a lot of advantages. I won't go as far as Taquillo. I'm not calling for the outright upset, but I do think Auburn covers the spread. I like LSU to win, Auburn to cover the spread.
Yeah, I've been saying it for past couple days now. I'm staying away from this game. There's too much unknown. LSU's defense is too inconsistent, right? They're too volatile to trust in this regard. And the bye week is the added extra element in the sauce, like you mentioned, with Hugh Freeze and all that game planning expertise. Now I want to highlight Jayden Daniels, though, Mike. Here is a cat who is currently first in the nation in total yards. He's second in touchdowns accounted for. He's just playing incredible. He is having a New York City season, but LSU already has 2 losses, and they have 2 losses because of this bad defense. Mike, what do you think? Is this defense ultimately going to stop JD5 from reaching New York City at the end of the year?
Will it? Yes. Should it? No. Don't get me started on Heisman. I mean, Peyton Manning should have won that award, what was it, 1997. So, yeah, I've been upset with the Heisman and the way they run it for the better part of 20, 25 years here. I don't think they give it to the most valuable player. They give it to usually the best player on the best team, and clearly that's not going to be LSU. So I don't think there's any chance he wins it. But again, I'm not saying I believe that should be the case. He should be a finalist. He may be even the front runner in my mind.
Well, and it's like you look at this graphic that we have here on the screen, right? And you see some bad defenses among the bunch. 2018, Kyler Murray, 101st ranked defense in the country. Caleb Williams last year with that bad USC defense, 94th. You look at Lamar Jackson, a team that didn't have great winning success. And so I would say this. You can overcome a bad defense if you still get the wins, a la Oklahoma with Murray and USC last year with Caleb. And you can overcome a lack of wins if you're a statistical outlier. If you think about somebody like RG3 or Johnny Manziel or even 3-loss Tim Tebow when he won it at Florida in the mid-2000s, the problem is Jayden Daniels is incredible, but he's not actually a statistical outlier this year. You have Michael Penix Jr., who is just tearing it up. You have Caleb Williams, who remains the most statistically impressive quarterback in the country. You have Bo Nix at Oregon. I can't wait to watch Penix and Nix this weekend. So the point is, as good as Daniels has been, ultimately, this LSU team's going to have to win. Tell me if you agree with this. If LSU beats Alabama and wins the West, I think he'll go to New York. If they win the SEC, I think he'd have a very good chance of winning it all. If he does neither, it's a great year, but I don't think he goes anywhere.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. He needs that Heisman moment. And as great as he was against Missouri and Mississippi State, that ain't getting you any award ceremony. It's got to come in Tuscaloosa like a Joe Burrow. It's got to come again. And even if he beats Alabama, which I think is very reasonable because, of course, I've been waving the flag for Alabama's overrated. Who's not overrated is Georgia. So, yeah, it's going to come in Atlanta in the SEC championship. It's an uphill climb to even get there. It's an even tougher task to beat the 2-time national champions. If he does it, yeah, I don't have a vote. They'll never give someone like me a vote. But if I had one, I'd give it to Jayden Daniels.
Give SEC Mike a vote. I don't have a vote either, so it doesn't really matter. They just were too cool, dude. So we know the SEC. It's what we do here, Rivals Down South. And we all know that in the SEC, what does it mean? It means more. And so in keeping with that, there's nothing that we love to do more than fire coaches for disappointing us and losing on Saturday. And right now, you got a trio on the hot seat. You got Sam Pittman at Arkansas, Jimbo Fisher in the massive buyout, and then Billy Napier, who just can't seem to get anything going at Florida. Mike, out of these 3, who do you believe is most threatened right now by potential loss of a job?
Well, I think the answer is Sam Pittman, but I don't think it should be. I think Sam Pittman's a CEO type coach. He's dependent on his coordinators. When you come in and replace both coordinators, you got to expect a little bit of a downturn, and they could still have a 8-win season if they win out. 7, I think, is more realistic. But the guy, it should be T-Bob, and we all know it. I've been saying it. You should have fired him already. and that's Jimbo Fisher. And the only reason he's not the slam dunk answer is that massive buyout. He's a joke. He's a clown. They'll never win anything as long as Jimbo Fisher is there in College Station. And Billy Napier, you lose on Saturday to South Carolina. I'm willing to throw you into this boat too. I mean, come on, unless they get
Oh.
enough sleep. You know, I mean, maybe they'll beat South Carolina if they get their 9 hours this week.
Yeah, I mean, on the Jimbo front, Mike, to me, it's like, come on, A&M, are you rich boys or not? You're always telling us about all your money, right? And how rich all your alumni are. You got oil spouting out the ground. Well, okay, pay. I dare you then. I double dog, triple stamp dare you, A&M. Pay somebody $75 million not to work. Or are you just sad little broke boys that can't afford it? Okay. Pay that man $75 million not to work. That sounds absurd. And it is absurd, but that's college football. That's the SEC. That's just meaning more. As far as Pittman goes, Mike, like, okay, Jimbo, if that happens, that's going to be a postseason thing, right? Napier, I think Napier's safe. We get in that in a second. On the Pittman front, do you think this could potentially happen Sunday even? I mean, I know it's weird to think of Alabama as being somehow the straw that broke the camel's back, but it's starting to feel a lot like the Ed Ogeron situation to me back in 2021, where basically after Kentucky spanked him, they call a press conference, say, look, we're going to let O finish the season. He is beloved, but he will not be the head coach going forward.
No, I don't think there's any chance that happens, T-Bob, and it's because it's
Okay.
Alabama. It's on the road. I mean, just look at. I realize people don't want to look ahead, but Mississippi State at home's after that. Florida, will be coming off Georgia. Auburn at home. FIU at home. Missouri at home. You could beat all those teams. I don't know how realistic that is, but let's say you win 4 out of the 5. All of a sudden, I think he's fine again. So I think it would be a major, major mistake to fire Sam Pittman in the middle of the year after losing to some of the teams he's lost to, particularly given that all of them were away from home.
Yeah, we'll see. And then as far as Pittman goes, I mean, maybe you keep him and get different coordinators. I don't know. I do know Dan Enos should probably be fired. On the Napier front, Florida's got to chill. They can't fire anybody right now. They've been too reactive lately. They've been firing good coaches too long now. They need to get these facilities built. Napier's recruited well. He at least gets one more year. All right, coming up next here on Rivals Down South, a pair of SEC powerhouses looking to fine-tune things in Week 7. And Nick Saban lectures us about nothing. More Rivals coming up here on Stadium.
You get up every day, you're entitled to nothing. Nobody owes you nothing. You could have talent, but if you don't have discipline and you don't execute, you don't focus, what do you get? Nothing. If you're complacent and not paying attention to detail, what does that get you? Nothing. So nothing is acceptable but your best.
I mean, that right there, Mike, that is why that man is the best of all time. Here he is, 70 plus years old, maybe putting on the best coaching job of his entire career, and he is still digging deeper. He's still turning over new rocks. He's still finding new ways, new philosophies, new avenues to motivation, still finding ways of break like really think about what he just said, because I'm fired up right now. And I'm fired up. The best part about it is he's talking about nothing, but it applies to everything, to whatever your job is. I don't care if it's sports. I don't care if it's sports talk. I don't care if it's accounting. Whatever you do, this applies, right? You are entitled to nothing. Talent, whatever natural ability you have without discipline is nothing. And you have to hold yourself to the standard that nothing is acceptable except the best. That is why that man is so successful. Just unreal stuff still from our guy, Nick Saban.
Yeah, and I've been as hard as anyone on him during the offseason, saying he's lost his fastball and all this. But let me ask you this, T-Bob, because we're at the midway point of the SEC season. If you had to give Coach of the Year, would you give it to Nick Saban? Because I think he's the leading candidate at this point in time.
I mean, yeah, who else would you give it to, right? Like, I mean, nobody's going to want to hear this, but Lane Kiffin's done a pretty good job, but who'd he lose to? Nick Saban. He already dispatched A&M in College Station. Drinkwitz, potential nice story. Like maybe if Mizzou had beaten LSU, you'd go Drinkwitz, but no, man. I don't know. Maybe there's something wonderfully comfortable about it, right? The more we age, because like I'm 34 and I'm a father of 3, I find myself thinking about death every single day a little bit more, which is insane. Because hopefully I have a lot of life to live, but this is my reality. Every day I get closer, I think about it more, right? So there is something warmly comforting about knowing that Nick Saban is still the Crimson Emperor. He is still the god that rules the SEC, or at least the SEC West. And this is something that I am very used to. It's like, have I lived under the heel of Crimson oppression? Yes, I have. But at least I know who to pay my taxes to. At least I know kind of what's expected of me. Maybe it's a little better than some of the chaos that we see enveloping the rest of the world right now. The world's in flames, but at least you have Nick Saban still kicking the SEC West's ass. I don't know. I'm trying to do mental gymnastics to make myself feel better about the fact that we all thought he was going to fail, and he is firmly in control once again.
Yeah, and I heard him speak this week, T-Bob, about how he likes being discounted. He likes people think they're going to lose. It's easier to get the team up. So that's kind of my big question now, because everybody's penciling Alabama in, and particularly this week against a Hart Arkansas team. I think we learn a lot about the Tide when they're huge favorites. No one's going to be picking them to even be a close game with Arkansas. Do they regress a little bit like we saw early in the season, or do they keep that fire? I think that's a big storyline in the SEC this weekend.
Well, and it is interesting though, Mike, because you are talking about two programs that are moving in complete opposite directions right now, right? There's an old Napoleon quote, even though apparently through learning more history, nobody ever actually said anything and all quotes are fake. But there is an old quote about, in war, morale is to physical as 3 parts of 4, right? That basically like the attitude of your troops, the morale of your troops actually means more than their talent in a lot of situations. And when you think about the morale of Bama right now, which really couldn't be higher, and in something that I'm sure Nick Saban loves, not only did they win in College Station, but they won so sloppy that he can ride them this week. He can really get into them and turn the screws, and they have to take it because objectively, he's right. He's not reaching. And so they have that going on. And then on the other side, you have Arkansas, Dan Enos responding to students, calling them out for play calling through email, through Gmail immediately after the game. Rumors swirling about Pittman being fired. You just couldn't have programs entering this game in a different spot. I think Alabama smashes. And I got a little sharp gambling tip from, not me, from an actual sharp, who says smash the over.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm discounting him once again, and I'll look like a fool. But I just think there was so much motivation last week. Everybody picking against you except for A.J. McCarron. It seemed like he was the only one picking Alabama, and he was right. I was wrong once again. I'll probably be wrong again. But I think with that lack of motivation, I don't know if we see the same old dominant Crimson Tide this weekend. But like I said, I've been wrong a lot when it comes to Nick Saban.
Well, look, I think Nick thought that clown makeup looked good on you, Mike. You know, he just wants you to have a chance to get your money's worth once again. And then look, the other big dog now, the only team that is better than Alabama is Georgia. And you know what, dog fans, I know you're upset with me for not being overly impressed with your win against Kentucky. So let's just go ahead and say, great job, Georgia, smashing Vanderbilt. We're all so very impressed. We're all so very proud of you. You win on the road. Your fans took over like everybody did, and you beat Vandy. Good job, Georgia. The really tough road to the three-peat continued.
How about this stat, T-Bob? It's been 5 years since Vanderbilt has scored a touchdown on Georgia going into this football game.
What?
What are they doing in the SEC? I mean, this is comical.
That doesn't even feel possible. But that's why SEC Mike is the host of that SEC podcast, him and Cousin Shane. They're bringing you the fun facts. All right, when we get back, let's play a little game here. A lot to love, but there's a lot to hate in this SEC as well. Let's play a little game next here on Rivals Down South. All right, welcome back to Rivals Down South, and it's time to explore our love-hate relationship with the SEC. Mike, I'll start here. We'll start here. The SEC is known for its legendary venues. And thus, I'll ask you this. Which stadium do you love to go visit? And which stadium do you absolutely detest going to visit?
Yeah, great question. I think even though they're so mean to me, I love going to the Swamp. It's just a unique environment down there. It's not a great college town, if we're being honest. Gainesville, all they got is the Florida Gators. They love their Gators down there. Florida, that's one I love to go to. One I hate, and I'll probably never go back, is Missouri. I mean, they got the rocks. Don't sit on them. Trust me about that one. That's a rough visit.
I mean, it's funny. I hate the Swamp, but it's a classic love-hate thing because it's so hard to play there. I'll say this, man. I got to play in Tennessee my senior year. That is a unbelievable venue. The coordinator checkerboard in the stands, 100,000 strong right there on the river. Probably the most scenic and beautiful place to play. Let's see if they can hold it down against the Aggies this weekend in Neyland. Mike, what coach do you love? What coach do you hate?
I love Sam Pittman. Maybe that's why I don't want him getting fired. I mean, I could drink a beer with Sam Pittman. Who do I hate? Probably Billy Napier. He blocked me the day he got down there, and he's boring as hell.
He is bored as hell. Scared money don't make money. No, look, I love Nick Saban, and I hate Nick Saban. I love him because I respect him, but I hate him because he cost me everything I worked for in my entire life. Mike, let's just do straight hate. Which fan base do you hate more than any other?
It's the goofy 12th man midnight yell thing. I just can't get on board with any of that. I'm sorry, Aggies.
The cult of A&M is strong, but it's all about them damn dirty Tide. I hate them sick bastards. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you Friday. Get you ready tomorrow.